Top 10 Richest Criminals in the World. Nothing justifies being a criminal, but if you're not going to make millions out of it, why live a life of crime? From money laundering to drug smuggling and all kinds of fraud, some of the world's most notorious criminals have put their names on the list of richest individuals in the world. So who are these wealthy criminals? And just how rich are they? Before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on post notifications to Top Wealth for more exciting content like this. Not only was Pablo Escobar the world's most famous drug lord, but he was also the richest criminal on the planet. By the time Don Pablo, also known as the King of Cocaine, turned 35, he was one of the wealthiest men in the world. It's not every day you see a drug lord named on the Forbes list, but Escobar rocked the list of international billionaires for 7 long years, between 1987 until 1993. In fact, he was listed as the 7th richest man in the world in 1989, top 10, and he wasn't number 10. So how exactly did he make his money? Escobar was the leader of the Medellin cartel, which was responsible for 80% of the global cocaine market. Escobar made roughly $420 million in weekly revenue, and his cartel brought in 70 to 80 tons of cocaine monthly into the United States. Don Pablo was so rich that he lost $2.1 billion yearly, and it didn't bother him. He also made a chimney out of $2 million in cash because his daughter Manuela was cold. Escobar made it to the Forbes list with a net worth of $30 billion. But at the time he died, he was penniless. Amado Carrillo Fuentes comes second after Don Pablo as one of the most powerful drug lords of the century. Carrillo grew up in the Guadalajara cartel, where he handled shipment, so it wasn't a difficult option for him when he had to kill his friend and former boss, Rafael Aguila Guajardo, to take over the Juarez cartel. Carrillo was nicknamed El Señor de los Cielos, which means the Lord of the Skies. He got the name because he was the first drug dealer to transport cocaine through a private airplane. Before his death, Carrillo had a net worth of $25 billion. And unlike Escobar, the authorities weren't involved in his death. In an attempt to evade capture from the US and Mexican authorities, Carrillo decided to undergo plastic surgery to change his looks. Unfortunately for him, he died in the process. It was also reported that the surgeons who performed the surgery were gruesomely murdered. Not only is Semyon Mogilevich on the list of the FBI's world's most wanted criminals, but he's also been dubbed as the most dangerous mobster in the world. Semyon, aka the boss of bosses, is a Russian mafia member who runs several Russian mafia syndicates in the world today. He has lived a life of crime since the early 70s. Charges brought against him by the FBI include weapons trafficking, contract murders, extortion, drug trafficking, kidnapping, and prostitution on a global scale. In 2009, he was arrested for his involvement in a £3.5 billion large-scale tax fraud. Semyon has both the FBI and Interpol tailing him, but they can't touch him as he moved to a country where the United States does not maintain an extradition treaty. He currently lives in Moscow with his 3 children as a free man, despite the warrants issued against him. Semyon is currently worth $10 billion. Leona Helmsley went from being a businesswoman and a real estate mogul to a convicted criminal. What were her charges, you ask? Tax fraud. It was said that she made a statement, which she eventually denied, that "we don't pay taxes, only little people pay tax." Helmsley had a flamboyant attitude along with a tyrannical nature, and this fetched her the title Queen of Mean. Leona and her husband Harry Helmsley, along with 2 of their associates, were indicted on tax charges including extortion. The Helmsleys were accused of using money from their real estate empire to stock their Connecticut summer home with luxuries like a $1 million marble dance floor and a $45,000 silver clock. During their trial, her husband was too sick to stand trial, but Leona, on the other hand, was sentenced to 16 years in prison on grounds of tax avoidance, filing fraudulent personal tax returns, and postal theft. Her husband left her $5 billion at the time of his death, and at the time of her death, she was worth $8 billion. Not many terrorists make it to the Forbes list as one of the world's wealthiest men, but Dawood Ibrahim was listed with a net worth of $6.7 billion. So who is this Dawood Ibrahim? Dawood is many things: a mafia boss, a terrorist, and the founder of Mumbai's largest crime syndicate, D Company. Dawood hasn't lived in Mumbai since 1993, when he helped plant bombs that rocked the city and killed 257 people. He was also involved in Mumbai's most violent police killings in the 1990s. This led the FBI and Interpol to put him on their most wanted lists. He was so hated in his own country that they placed a $25 million bounty on his head. Today, he's nowhere to be found, but what we know is he's still alive somewhere, hiding out from the authorities. Victor Bout earned $6 million from his criminal activities of wire fraud, money laundering, illegal arms trafficking, and aiding terrorist organizations. He was known as the Merchant of Death. In 2008, he was convicted after conspiring to kill US officials and aiding the terrorist organization FARC. In 2012, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison and he's currently being held at the United States Penitentiary. Quite recently, when former President Donald Trump was about to end his first tenure, Bout dared Trump to pardon him. Griselda Blanco was a name that was feared in the 1980s. Escobar may have been a brutal drug lord, but he didn't come close to the cocaine godmother. La Madrina, which means the Black Widow, was one of the wealthiest and most dangerous women in the world, and she made history as the world's first female billionaire convict. She became one of the top members of the Medellin cartel in Colombia by the 70s, and during the Florida drug wars in the 1980s, it was reported that she was responsible for over 200 murders. She was also famous for killing her 3 husbands. Before she was assassinated in 2012, she had a net worth of $2 billion. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman is the most powerful drug lord alive at the moment and the boss to the boss of the infamous Sinaloa cartel. Not only is he a powerful drug lord, but he seems to pull off a better job than Michael Scofield. El Chapo escaped from Mexico's highest security prison 2 times in the past 2 decades. After escaping an assassination attempt, he moved to Guatemala, where he was immediately arrested and thrown into prison for 20 years. He was recaptured in 2014 but escaped a year later. El Chapo, who is said to be responsible for tens of thousands of deaths, is currently locked up in a maximum security prison in New York for life. Before his incarceration, El Chapo was worth $2 billion. Alan Stanford, once a billionaire banker, was convicted for selling $7 billion through certificates of deposits from his offshore bank, Stanford International Bank. The case was described as a Ponzi scheme, as he misinformed over 50,000 investors about his level of professional management. Before he was arrested, he had a net worth of about $2 billion. After the court issued him a 110-year jail sentence, he drew claims of his innocence, saying he was set up and that he wasn't going to remain jailed. He said, "Mark my words, I'm going to walk out the doors of this place a free man. We'll see about that in a century, Alan." Al Capone ran the scenes long before the likes of Escobar were born. You may know him as Scarface or Public Enemy No. 1. He was responsible for many gang clashes as his business focused on prostitution and gambling during the Prohibition era. He is most known for orchestrating the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, when he ordered the assassination of 7 of his rivals. He was never caught for these gruesome crimes, but he was sent behind bars for income tax evasion. Before his death in 1947, he was worth $1.3 billion. Now you know some of the world's most notorious criminals and how wealthy they are. Which one of these criminals would you consider the most brutal? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to Top Wealth. We have loads of exciting content on its way for you soon. Thanks for watching.